What is going on, everybody, and welcome to part 6 of the StarCraft II AI series in Python. What we've been doing up to this point is defeating the easy and the medium AI, which both were easy and medium, I would say, is not medium. We could not defeat the hard AI, but given how simply we defeated the easy and medium AI just by simply creating some fighting units, I think defeating the hard AI is probably not going to be too difficult. Let's get into it. But before we do, quick shout out to my most recent sponsors: Googlebot, Deepak, Samir, Florian, Joao, Tyler Durden, Faust, and Nick Bender. Thank you guys very much for your support. If you didn't know, you can support the channel by clicking that beautiful blue button. Look at it. You just gotta click that button. Thanks again, y'all, for your support. And let's get into it. So, at least looking at this, there's a few major things that we have going wrong. So, first of all, this bot has no notion of time, like how much time has elapsed in the game. So, for example, when the game immediately starts, our bot has a goal of creating 3 nexuses, or command centers, whatever you want to call them. That might be a worthy objective to have just immediately, but do you really want to build, are those 3 nexuses going to be your primary objective, right? Are you going to build 3 nexuses before you build a single military unit? Maybe, but unless that's your goal, you need to focus on that. Also, the same thing here. Do we want to build 3 gateways right away? Or do we just want 1 gateway and then take those resources? Because the gateways are our version of offense or defense for our base, as opposed to, say, resource collection. Do we want 3 immediately, or should we take some of those resources and start building an army? Also, 3 is pretty good for the first few minutes, but what if the match, for whatever reason, gets us to, say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes? 3 gateways, is that going to be enough? Probably not. Our enemies probably got many more, unit producing buildings, and eventually they're just going to suffocate us. So a fixed number doesn't make any sense. This needs to be a variable, and probably dependent on how much time has elapsed. So that's another thing. Or you could make it a variable based on how many resources you have, but this fluctuates so much. You could maybe do like a resource rate, or a variable based on how many workers and nexuses you have, or something. But I'm going to do time. Next, same thing here. How many units is it going to take for us to attack? Initially, 15 units is a lot to send to an enemy base, or if an enemy was to send 15 units to you. But later on in the game, especially 15 of these little base stalkers, no, that's not enough. So we need to figure that one out. And then finally, the other major issue is that as we produce new units, they kind of run towards the enemy. And at least in this case, with even 3, you have a scenario where one's maybe dying, one's on its way, one's also on its way. And we just continually just send new units up one by one, though. They're not clustered. They need to come together before they go. That's another issue. Not really going to solve that issue here, but just know that is an issue. So, what we're going to do first is give this bot a notion of time. So, coming up here, basically, you see on this on step, there is an iteration. We can use that iteration to our advantage. Now, we could just arbitrarily say if the iteration is greater than X or whatever, then that would give us some sort of way to make rules around this. But I think, at least for me, I want to think in terms of minutes. So at least for what I checked, an iteration, there's about 165 iterations per minute. I have, again, no idea what an iteration is, if that's like a game tick, or if that is just how quick your processors are. I really don't know. So you'll want to check that for yourself. But that's what I found. I found it to be 165, or very close to 165. There's no empirical testing that went on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to define an initialization method here, and basically all we want to do is define a constant here for iterations per minute. Just so basically you want your bot to always be importable, okay? So, and I'll show you why hopefully at the end here if this video doesn't make it to like 6,000 hours long. We'll probably end up copy pastaing a little bit off of the text-based tutorial just so I can get through everything. Because, never mind. Anyways, let's go. So what we need to do is self.iterations per minute equals 165. Now we can reference self.iterations per minute everywhere in our script. So now what we're going to do is on step, we also want to track where's the current, where are we currently? So self.iteration equals iteration, just so we can access this everywhere in all of these methods, and then we can start building things with that in mind. So the first thing that I want to do is like building assimilators, like pylons and assimilators. We just, if we don't have the supply, build some pylons, right? Pretty simple stuff. And actually our pylons, that was another area of major issue. Our pylons should be much more intelligently built. Anyway, so really an expand, I'm going to leave that the way it is. Hopefully I'll explain later too a little more, or at least show you guys, but at the end of the day, this logic, despite not being like fully logical, before we can afford a nexus, we can afford other things. So it's only at the point where we have full queues, basically, or something's already being built, that we expand to a new nexus. So it just kind of works out. You'd probably want to put some logic in there, but it just doesn't matter because of the cost of things. But anyway, so the first thing we'd want to focus on is offensive force buildings, because while we only need one, theoretically, probably a good idea to have like 2 cybernetics cores, maybe, because then if you just have one and someone destroys it, you're in trouble. But anyways, mostly we want to focus on the gateway. So if the len of gateways is less than 3, I propose we'd like to have 1 gateway per minute. So at the 9-minute mark, it'd be nice to have 9 gateways, right? And continuing on. So about once a minute, I'd like to have a new gateway. So rather than being less than 3, let's just say I want to know if is that less than self.iteration divided by self.iterations per minute. So if, and this is super approximate, okay? It's not going to be perfect, but from all the games that I've watched, it seems to be about 165 it does what I hope it to do, basically. So that's the first thing that we're gonna add there. The next issue that we have, or if games go long enough, is build workers. So in this case, as long as we have a nexus that has no queue, we're building workers. And initially, that's no big deal, but eventually, that's kind of a big deal, because we're going to, like, generally it's our military units that get destroyed first. Our military units are more expensive, and so eventually we end up having too many workers, and they kind of suffocate out the ability for us to have military units. So what we need to do is have some limitation on this. So I propose just we have like a max workers, so self.max underscore workers equals, and for now I'm gonna say 50. I saw a comment, someone said like usually if games last long enough it's more like 80. We could go somewhere in between. I personally have tested mostly 50, but we could go 70. Chances are most of the time the games, at least versus these AIs, will end long before you get to those numbers, but we can do, let's do 70. I'll go with 70 for now. So now, or if we really wanted to be right in between, 65. Okay. I know everybody was really worried about that. So now what we're going to do for build workers is rather than if we have, so not only do we want to have a max workers, but we also kind of want to have like a maximum amount of workers per nexus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this will be a long one. So for nexus in units, really we're just going to add a big line on top of that. So we're just going to say if the len of self.units, if len self.units nexus, if len self.units nexus times, and we're going to say 16 is If that number is greater than the len of self.units, if that's greater than our probes, right, then we're fairly content. And I'm trying to decide if I really I'd like to put this all in one line, but I know Sublime Linter is going to be like, it's too long of a line, man. So we'll go down here. And you can either throw in the and or satisfy pep8, whatever you want to do. If len, so really now we just want to ask, is that less than self.max workers? If both of those are the case, now we're going to build the workers. Otherwise, let's not do that. We don't want to run out of workers. Next, I think for expansions, we could modify this. Again, it shouldn't be an issue, but in the later game, you may want to make that expansion. And the way that we could do that, this one I am going to copy paste because this one isn't as essential, but again, it's very similar to what we've seen before. So if it's less than how many minutes? So 1 per minute. If we can afford one, let's go ahead and make that expansion. Eventually, it's kind of silly to have like 9 expansions. Really, you probably don't want to do any more than 3. I think that might be a mistake. Then the next thing is offensive force buildings. So like I was saying before, you want to have more than what we have. But the other thing too is if the game goes long enough, and really offensive force, but buildings has to be referenced first. If the game goes long enough, we don't want to continue using our stalkers. We'd like a better unit. Now, you can upgrade your stalker with a thing called Blink, and that makes the stalkers much better. I have no idea how to control that Blink capability with p.6. I haven't tried to figure it out. I just knew that I don't know how to do that. So I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just don't know how. But don't take that as you can't do it. If you want to add that capability to the stalker, and see how you do with that upgrade, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to add in the Void Ray as one of our other units. So we've got Stalker, and to build the Void Ray, we're going to need a Stargate, and then you can build a Void Ray. So the Void Ray is like this, it's a flying ship, and it shoots out this like beam, and it does just tons of damage. Now, according to the documentation for the game, the Void Ray is a weak unit. I haven't seen that to be the case, and I think it's just because the Void Ray does so much damage so quickly that it kind of like balances out pretty well. So the Void Ray is a pretty good unit in my opinion of playing StarCraft for about a week, in my expert opinion. So I think it's a pretty good unit to have. Also, it flies, so it doesn't like get stuck on rocks. Like a lot of times, right before someone's base, there's like a clump of rocks that, again, I'm sure there's a way in the API to find those things and destroy them so you can move more units in quickly to an enemy base. I just didn't bother. So with Void Ray, you just fly over that stuff, right? And it makes it a good unit because that unit can also, like, a lot of times you're fighting AI, and like let's say the AI has flying and ground units, but you're losing the battle. Well, you could retreat, and now all you have to fight is the flying units. You don't even have to worry about the ground units because you could just retreat over a ridge or whatever, and they can't get to you. So you can split up enemy armies really well, especially if you're all flying units. Okay, so I'm trying to decide if I really want. I think I'm just gonna copy and paste this one in just because I don't think like there's really nothing new here. So let's see. So let me take the offensive force method. Copy. Yeah, this is our buildings. I'm just gonna paste this one in. So here, this was just for debugging purposes. I just wanted to see that it was generally right because there is a little game clock. So I wanted to see if that was close, right? So if a gateway already exists and we don't have a cybernetics core, if we can afford one and we're not already building one, we build a cybernetics core. Same as what we've seen before. And all this requires a pylon to exist. Then, So if this statement is true, then we're going to build the cybernetics core. If not, we're going to build the gateway. So this would not be true if a gateway didn't exist. So elif, build the gateway, so long as that's less than half of the minutes. So in this case, so just a moment ago, what we had was we wanted to have as many gateways as we had minutes into the game. Now we want to do half of that because we're going to be building both a gateway and a Stargate. And eventually that's just going to be like way too many buildings. So we're going to go with this number instead. So half of that. So at 8 minutes, we should have 4 gateways and 4 Stargates, okay? So this is just for the gateway stuff, right? Then coming down here, and sort of, I mean, because you do need the cybernetics core and all that. But anyways, coming down here, if we have the cybernetics core already, and we don't have enough Stargates, if we can afford a Stargate, and one's not already pending, we want to build a Stargate, okay? So once we have the Stargate, we need to add that into our offensive force. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste this one in. Almost looks like I'll have to fix it in the text-based tutorial. It's the tabbing isn't quite right, but there we go. So now for gateway in there, we're going to build stalkers as many as we can. Our goal here is just to make, because the stalker is going to be quicker and cheaper and everything to build than a void ray, we want to keep the numbers, at least for now. We just want to have some sort of control. Otherwise, the stalker is just always going to suffocate out the void ray because it's cheaper to build and quicker. So we're just going to wind up only building stalkers. So that's why I wanted to say, hey, as long as the stalker amount isn't greater than void ray. Otherwise, we're going to come down here, and then we're just going to build void rays. I'd just give the void ray the priority anyways. The way things are going to shake out is it'll be about even. So once we've done that, the only thing that we really need to modify is the attack method, because right now it just does stalker. I want to say there's like 4, I think you can do like some sort of worker unit in, like you could do like self.workers or something, and in fact, I think it's even up here. So you could either reference your probes directly, or you could reference workers. Let's see if we have one though. Build workers, worker. I'm not seeing it here. Okay, yeah. So self.do work. Oh no, this is selecting a build worker. There is a way to select like just a worker in general. And so you don't have to know the unique name, and I'm guessing you could do like some sort of fighting unit general selection as well. Again, I'm sure it exists. I just didn't know it, so I didn't use it. So now I'm going to copy this other method in for the attack, and now let me know down below if you guys, so like what I've been trying to do lately in tutorials is for like new concepts or something, I always try to still write that out by hand. But for things that we've already covered, I don't really see a value in it. So I've been doing this where like I'll just copy and paste it and just kind of explain it. Let me know what you think of that. Would you rather me still continue to write it all out by hand, or not? So we can cover so much more. Like this tutorial would have taken probably 3 or 4 videos, whereas I'm going to be able to knock this all out one video. Anyway, carrying on. So what I did here is I created just like a little dictionary, and then in here we have the objects, and then 2 numbers in the list. Here I just did a note taking here. This is the number to fight, so like the number to like go and look for a fight, and then the number required to defend a fight. And both of these numbers are just, we should really tweak them quite a bit. Like 5 and 3 is probably not really that great. Probably should do like 3 or something like that. And then have some sort of clump. Like it needs to be 3 in a close group. Because it's too often, because in this case, what I've found is it's like 3 anywhere on the map. So then they go and attack, but they attack one by one. And they just go to slaughter, basically. so that's something you'd want to fix. Anyway, all we're doing is we just iterate through the aggressive units. If they're not idle, blah, 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 they find the target. It's pretty simple. So, like we're just iterating through here and then performing the same logic that we had before. If we have enough units to attack, just like find a target, well, then we're going to look for a target. Otherwise, if we just have enough units to defend, well, then we're going to defend. And that should be enough. So let's go ahead and run that. Probably hit some sort of error. So we'll wait for the lovely, lovely error that I know I'm going to hit. And we're going to fight Tehran. Some people got a little irritated at my pronunciation of Tehran. So now I'm going to have to just it's kind of like epochs and epics. Let me make this a little bigger. Can I? Give me this. There it is. Full screen. Oh, shoot. I don't know if we have real time. I guess we're going to find out really quick. This game is loading slow as heck. Come on, man. It looks like, yeah, okay, we're going pretty quick. No errors yet. This is incredible. We're building things. It's the glory of copy pasta, really. We shouldn't have any errors. Okay, so it looks. I think this is our No, that's our cybernetics core. I don't know. Let's see if we're building. Here comes our Stargate. Also, I am aware of the cannon rush strategy. Everybody, thank you. I'm aware it exists, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, I found out. So this is your little workers. You could if you were playing, you could press F1 or F2 to select all of your military units. Oh my gosh, we've been rushed. Oh no, we're probably not gonna. We might not win this one, but we'll see. Oh, we destroyed it. See, that's why I love these void rays. They're just so insane. Anyway, so you could see what you have in your entire military just by pressing F2. Or you could just look here and see there's 10 of them. But you could see, like, okay, this is relatively balanced. I'm assuming we're building some void rays right now. What's this? Oh, man, they came in with a big army. Uh-oh. Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, we might actually lose. For the record, this script is fully capable of winning. It's not going well, though. Looks like we're about to... If we lose that Nexus, let me restart it, I guess. Oh, no. Should just edit it out of the video and act like that never happened. So we are playing difficulty hard, by the way. That was just automatically changed. Embarrassing. I'm trying to think if there was anything I didn't change. Oh, anyway, we're back playing. Hopefully they won't. I think our issue that time was they rushed us and we just were not prepared for that. Moving forward, there's a few things I want to show you guys first. First of all, at least in my testing, I'm able to defeat the hard AI here at least 8 out of 10 times. Like, most of the time I'm able to defeat them. And then I was able to defeat both Zerg and also fighting Protoss as well. Again, still like 8 out of 10. Zerg was probably our worst, maybe more like 6, 7 out of 10 times. And then once you get to that point, the next thing that we could do, looks like we got 3 nexuses. We already got 5 military units. Hopefully, if they don't rush this time, like by the time we start getting up the right amount, like once we have enough resources to keep building these buildings, I don't think they'll beat us. But if we get rushed, we tend to lose. Looks like we're doing pretty good, though. Oh, no, we got rushed again, yeah. This guy. Well, you're not going to get very far, because, yeah. These void arrays are just nuts. Anyway, coming back over here to the actual package that we're using. If you check out the examples directory, they've got like Protoss, Terran, and Zerg all in here. And each of these has examples of common strategies. So the Cannon Rush, just 3 base Void Ray, just dominance. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. These ones I don't actually know too much about. I only just started looking at... Oh, it looks like we're about to... See ya! Yeah, we got... Well, in the 20s. And we're producing more than we're losing, at least at the moment. Okay, yeah, it's game over. See ya. Bye. Aren't these void arrays just look absolutely just... it looks so much better than these stalkers. I just love the little blue. Yeah. Bye-bye. No, I don't really feel like accepting your... I want to destroy you completely for last match. Anyway. Okay, so we can defeat Terron. So the next thing is to check out these, and you can import these. And also, people were asking, like, can you do bot versus bot and all that kind of stuff? And, like, they were curious about, could we have, like, players compete against each other and all that? And if you guys want to create bots and all that, I'd be happy to showcase your bots and go through them. We're hoping to do some sort of, like, tournament type system, but we'll see. There's a lot of hardships involved in that one. There's also sc2ai.net. Kind of the same story I've been telling this whole time. There is a way to submit things into here. I just don't know it. I haven't spent enough time looking into it. It also looks like maybe they're mostly C++ bots. I'm not really sure. Anyway, it exists. Now, let's see. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you guys, though, is, like I was saying, you can import other bots. So what I've done is, since I cloned that directory, let me just bring it over. So I cloned the the package that we're using, and then here are those bots. So for example, we could bring in Protoss, and let me just show you Cannon Rush, because we're going to get just dominated. Well, we're not going to get dominated, but we're not going to handle Cannon Rush very well. So what we can do is we can come up here and we can, so this tutorial, actually, shoot, I'm not sure if this tutorial is in the right directory for me to do this. Let's see, where are we? /tutorials. Maybe let me just copy and paste it into tutorials then. Okay. So my script right now, like, we're working right here, and here's the examples directory. So what we can do to compete against either these example bots or other bots that we make, or we want to compete like two bots versus each other, you can do something like from examples.protoss. And let's do examples Protoss. And then let's do Cannon Rush. So I'm just going to copy this. Cannon Rush. We want to import the main class here, Cannon Rush bot. So we're going to do this, import Cannon Rush bot. Then what we do is come down to the very bottom, and rather than doing a computer, we're going to do a bot. And in this case, Cannon Rush is a Protoss race, so we need to make sure we allow them to be Protoss. That would be rude of us to not do that. And we say, okay, this time we want to do the Cannon Rush bot. So now let's run that. Oh, hidden error. Is there something up here? Are you going to tell me it doesn't? No examples.pro. Oh, 3 S's. And also, is it lowercase? It is lowercase, but not 3 S's, just 2 S's. Try again. Also, when you run two bots, a couple things. Let's see if it does it to me. Yeah, it looks like it is. So you run two bots, two windows will pop up. This time it actually worked. Sometimes it hangs on a black screen, and it's super frustrating. And if that happens to you, go to like Document StarCraft II, open up that go to your user, My Documents, StarCraft II, and then there's like a variables.txt. Go to variables.txt, and I'm guessing this is, yeah, so they run in here, they build these pylons, and then they start building the cannons. So like in your actual base. And because at this stage, I don't have any fighters, we're not really, now a couple fighters came in, but it's not enough. It's too late. So, whoops, go back into here. I'm waiting for one. Okay, so here's one of their cannons. So then they just start putting these up, and we just don't have the firepower to defeat any of these cannons. Like, our worker bots aren't going to be able to do it. Now, we have already expanded over here, so it doesn't totally matter. But the problem, at least with our logic at the moment, is we're going to continue coming over here because these are known units. And with this many little cannons, we're never going to defeat that many cannons. So over time, there's just more and more and more of these that are just going to keep popping up. Now, both of these AIs should be greatly improved. Like, they know where we are. They know we're over here. So this Cannon Rush should now expand to over here probably. But they're not doing that. Also for us, as someone comes in like that, you should stop. You should divert all. Like, there's no good reason one of the enemy workers would be at your location, so you want to divert all of your resources to going after them pretty quickly. Now, other than that, once they get them placed, the other thing you can do is you can just pick up your little base and fly away. So that's doable as well. But this cannon rush bot isn't exactly the best one I've ever seen. They could do better. But basically the entire match is going to go this way. Now, one thing to also keep in mind is all they're doing is they just have little workers, right? They're completely defenseless. All we need to do to really win this battle would be first to come up here and just destroy this nexus, destroy this entire area, make a few more enemy fighting units, and then just slowly defeat the rest of this. Like, it wouldn't be the end of the world to defeat this. It's just you have to handle for it. Okay, so I'm going to close out of these. And now, so at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to start going through all these examples, and you're going to start building cases and handling for all of these conditions, and eventually it just becomes kind of a pissing contest over who can write the most if statements to handle for the most conditions. And it starts to get tedious at that point, in my opinion. By all means, have at it. It's just I think that makes for a fairly boring tutorial. So now we're going to get more into doing deep learning on this stuff. Now, I just want to stress that no deep learning bot is going to outperform at playing the game a rule-based bot, and probably not even a human player, especially if we fairly limit actions per minute. If we don't limit actions per minute, a fairly rudimentary bot could probably beat a human player, but even with deep learning, it's pretty difficult because there's just so many variables here to consider. But that's what we're going to start playing around with, is deep learning inside of StarCraft II. Probably, there's just so many things that we could optimize. There's just so many hard-coded values that we've put in here. But even just things like, should we expand? Should we not? Should we attack? Should we not? What kind of unit should we build? That kind of stuff is useful. And then also just, at what point should we, how many units should be mining at any given time? And there's just so many variables here that we can use deep learning to best at least pick those values. And then maybe you could put it all together, like a bunch of classifiers coming together and regressors coming together could be pretty good. But anyways, that's what we're going to be poking around with. I would like to build something that's like full AI, like all decisions are AI based. I think that would be cool. But like I said, that doesn't currently exist. There's nothing that really can do that to any good, successful degree. So don't expect that we're going to come up with some sort of, massive thing, but it will be fun, I think. So maybe. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks again to my recent sponsors. Whoa, look at that button. Dang, that looks attractive. You just want to click it. Anyways, I will see you guys next time.